What are the 16 personalities' love languages? Love languages, you got like French, Italian, I'm kidding, okay? Frank, this is not even funny. So the 5 love languages are how we as individuals prefer to be shown affection. I remember the 5 love languages using the acronym GQ-PAW. The love languages are gifts, quality time, physical touch, acts of service, and words of affirmation. Of course, everyone appreciates all 5 love languages to some degree, but the theory is that each of us prefers one over the rest. This whole idea comes from the best-selling book, The 5 Love Languages. Who would have thought? Written by Gary Chapman. If you're interested in picking up a copy, you can find a link in the description. It's important to understand the love language of the people in your life so you can better communicate your appreciation of and affection for them. And of course, me being a personality nerd, I'm immediately like, how do the 5 love languages correlate, correspond, connect to the 16 personalities? Let's talk about what always tends to be the least popular love language: gifts. This one's straightforward. People who have gifts as their love language like to receive gifts that express the giver's affection towards them. Like I said, this often ranks as like the least popular love language in pretty much every poll I've ever seen. But I think a lot of people are not being totally honest with themselves because, you know, we don't want to feel greedy or selfish or materialistic. So it feels like socially unacceptable to think of gifts as our love language. But here's the thing, gifts are not usually about the thing itself. It's about being creative and showing the other person that you pay attention to them, you pay attention to what they like and what they spend their time doing. But you know, gifts are tricky because all of the personality types will have some hang-ups when it comes to receiving gifts. And maybe this is why it always ranks in last place. FP types, for example, have introverted feeling. They know what they like and what they don't like. You need to really pay attention if you're gonna give an FP type a gift, because if you give them a gift that they don't like, it makes them feel really awkward. For TJ types, it can be even worse because they also have introverted feeling, but they're thinking types, so they feel even more uncomfortable when receiving gifts that they don't like. Now, if you can give a TJ type a useful gift, that might win them over. So pay attention to what they spend their time doing. For the TP types, if you get them the wrong gift, they may just be like, oh, a dumb, pointless gift, and you'll get your feelings hurt. I'd say the FJ types are probably the most likely to prefer gifts as their love language because they are very likely to pay attention to the giver's feelings and the thought behind the gift rather than the gift itself. The least likely types to rank gifts as their preferred love language, probably like ENTJs and ESTJs, because it makes them feel awkward and they're probably gonna throw it out the next day anyway. Not really their thing. Before we continue, let's stop momentarily and see if YouTube would like to show a commercial. Thanks for sitting through that. And if you're enjoying this video, hit the like button. You know, maybe like subscribe, hit the bell button, so you'll be notified. The next love language we're talking about is words of affirmation. People who prefer words of affirmation like to be told they are loved and valued. To these people, hearing someone else say, I appreciate you because of this, or I think it's great that you do that, is important to them so that they know they are loved. The biggest difference I could see here when it comes to personality type is the division between thinking types and feeling types. My guess is that feeling types are going to be much more likely to prefer words of affirmation than thinking types. Because feeling types tend to communicate with language that deals not only with emotions, but the value of things and people. They make decisions based on what matters, what's important. So it makes sense that a feeling type would be more in their element when people communicate to them, hey, I value you. You are really talking in their language when you say something like that. Thinking types, on the other hand, tend to communicate in the way of what is logical and what will work. Feelings and the value of things is secondary. As such, I think thinking types are less likely to prefer words of affirmation as a love language because it's not really communicating to them in their preferred logical way. ISTPs and INTPs in particular may prefer words of affirmation the least of all the types. They might not know how to take it, they might feel awkward, or they might just be like, yeah, I know I'm great. There's no surprise there. To learn more about how the 16 personalities communicate, check out this video in the card above. But the thinking types may prefer the next love language we're going to talk about, which is acts of service. People whose love language is acts of service feel the most loved when someone else does something for them. And sometimes that can be pretty simple or even mundane, like doing the dishes or folding the laundry or hitting the like button. Thinking types will be much more likely to prefer acts of service as their love language. Thinkers are always looking at how to solve things and get stuff done. So an act of service is very meaningful to them, much more than just telling them how you feel. Feeling types certainly will appreciate acts of service. I mean, who doesn't like it when you cook them a meal or subscribe to their YouTube channel? But between this love language and words of affirmation, I would guess that actually hearing someone express how they feel in words could be more meaningful to feeling types. And I think the least likely types to prefer acts of service would probably be INFPs and ISFPs. They might even feel uncomfortable with others doing stuff for them. Before we move on, I want to point you to my whole playlist of educational videos all about the 16 personalities. You can click the card above my head to check it out. Our next love language is physical touch, which is also very popular. I mean, this makes sense. All humans need physical touch. Like, from the time we're babies, we need it. I suppose the question is, which types would rank physical touch as their #1 love language over all the others? My first theory is that the SP types will all be more likely to prefer physical touch, because those types all prefer extroverted sensing, which leads them to tend towards being more present in physical reality. They're not lost in their heads like the intuitive types. The ESTP and ISTP in particular especially might prefer physical touch because not only are they extroverted sensors, but they are thinking types, so action matters a bit more to them, perhaps more than words. NJ types may also rank physical touch highly, as these types are kind of like the cousins of the SP types. The ENFJ and INFJ especially might prefer physical touch since they have extroverted feeling, which is focused on the feelings of others. So really, they will appreciate any expression of affection, whether physical or verbal. Least likely types to rank physical touch high, I would say possibly ENFP and ENTP, just because they can be so disconnected from the real concrete world that physical touch might not even occur to them right away as a love language. Lastly, but not leastly, let's talk about quality time. Quality time, by far, is the most popular love language. Check out this poll I gave my audience. You got almost half voting for quality time as their love language with over 140,000 responses. So I think it's safe to say that quality time will be fairly universal amongst the personality types. I mean, who doesn't feel loved when others want to be with them, listen to them, pay attention to them? But I think what each personality type would define as quality time is going to be a little different from type to type. For example, for introverted types, quality time could be for them just hanging out, talking, shooting the breeze. They'll appreciate someone who is just listening to them. For extroverted types, quality time could be going out and doing some activity. The togetherness and the shared experience is the important part. But, and maybe this is why it's the most popular one, it really varies from person to person regardless of type. You'll get extroverted types who get burned out talking to people all day, and they just want you to sit next to them on the couch while they vent. Or introverts who want you to share their occasional adventures out into the world with them. It really depends. Now, what are the types I think are the least likely to pick quality time as their preferred love language? This is really tough because it is so universal, but theoretically I'd say the EP types, especially ESTP and ESFP. This is because quality time might be, for these types, boring. These are the types that if they tell you that quality time is their love language, they probably want to spend a lot of that quality time doing some adventurous activity with you rather than like having a 2-hour conversation. Check out my video, How Do the 16 Personalities Connect with Others, which goes a bit more in depth into what could be considered quality time for each of the types. Let me give you some words of affirmation and say, I appreciate you when you watch videos of mine. You can watch another one right here or watch the whole playlist right here. And until next time, stay cool and attractive.